I have been very critical in the past of the amount that World Rugby meddle with the rules of the game. How they get, the laws. I apologise. Let me take that back. The laws of rugby. They meddle with the laws of rugby far too much, far too often, and they never just let the coaches and players work it out for themselves, which when left alone, I fully believe, and we've seen, rugby will always find a way to a better product, and they will solve the problems if left alone. However, sometimes I actually think there are positive interventions, and I think this is one of them. But I'm willing to be convinced otherwise if you think differently. And initially, when the 20-minute red card was discussed, the Irish and the French rugby unions and many, many fans were completely against it. I'd be really interested to know what you think now that World Rugby have said they are implementing the final global law trial of the 20-minute red card. It's going to come into effect this August. It's going to run through 2026 for all elite competitions. And this is the last step before it becomes just the law of the game and the way that rugby is everywhere for all competitions. So interesting to know exactly what you think. So do let me know in the comments. And like I say, genuinely willing to be persuaded otherwise. I think this is a positive move. That's my gut feeling at this stage. Also, I will just say, and I've seen it in a lot of the reporting of this since it was announced by World Rugby last night, there's a lot of people saying this is a controversial move by World Rugby and that this is a move that is splitting opinion of rugby fans. I don't know about you. I don't see that. I don't see the controversy and I don't see the massive divide in opinion. I think, like I say, there was when it first came out, but some of the issues have kind of been clarified and nullified, actually. For one, initially when World Rugby introduced it, it looked like, until they clarified it afterwards, it looked like it was going to be the end of full red cards for egregious foul play. And I think a lot of people had an issue with that. But then World Rugby clarified that, changed it a little bit, and then a lot of people went, okay, well, fine, I can get on board with that. One of the criticisms that comes up a lot is that it's going to somehow incentivize deliberate foul play. Because there is a lower sanction for with a 20-minute red card, that will maybe make it harder to get a full red card, that somehow that is going to mean that players will go out and deliberately try and hurt opponents, and that's bad for player welfare. World Rugby have pointed out that the data they've done on the trials so far does not indicate that. And to be honest, I didn't need the World Rugby data to tell me that. I just know with my own common sense from my time watching, playing, coaching, and all the rest of it, that's not what players do. That's just not going to happen. A 20-minute red card is never going to mean, oh, it's only 20 minutes. Oh, yeah, I could get banned afterwards and I could end up getting a full red card, but why don't I take the chance and just go out and punch an opponent to take him out of the game? It's just not going to happen. So I think that particular criticism that it's going to be bad for player welfare and players are going to go out and deliberately hurt people, I just don't understand it. But that said, I think there are very few people that still think that. There are some, but not many. And hey, if you do think that, again, let me know. Let's get a conversation started in the comments down below. It'd be really interesting to see. And thank you for it. Give the video a thumbs up and hit subscribe while you're at it too. So what is the details? Well, firstly, we have seen 20-minute red cards. We've like I say, we've had some trials already. We've got a feel for it. Samu Kerevi got one in the game against Wales in the autumn. It was on his 50th appearance, so he was gutted. Just early into the second half, high shot on Jack Morgan. Now, I think the reason why a 20-minute red card is a good thing, I do have some issues with it, and I will be suggesting some tweaks, but broadly speaking, I'm in favour of it because of this exact incident. There were some people that looked at that high shot and said it's shoulder to head, it's dangerous, that needs to be a full red card. And Samu Kerevi did get a 3-match ban for that tackle. So 20-minute red card does not mean you evade the citing commission and the bans. You still get that. So he got a 3-match ban for a high shot to the head, which was given a 20-minute red card. There were people at the time saying they felt really sorry for Samu Kerevi and they thought a 20-minute red card was maybe a little bit harsh because he was bent at the waist and he couldn't really control the fact that Jack Morgan's height dropped very late and therefore he made contact with the head. And I've got massive sympathy with rugby players. It's such a dynamic sport, fast moving. Decisions are made in fractions of seconds. Slow motion always makes it look like, oh, he could have got out of that. Sometimes a player can do the exact same thing, and depending on what an opponent does, or if they bounce off a different player, it can be the difference between a perfectly legal and brilliant tackle and a red card. So punishing someone and the team and the fans, more's the point, by taking that player out for the whole game, quite often just felt a little bit harsh. Although I will also say that it's quite rare that red cards ruin games. We've got enough data on red cards and teams going a man down and doing quite well to suggest that it doesn't necessarily need to ruin a game. Nevertheless, the fact there is this middle ground and there is this interpretation is why I think 20-minute red cards are a good idea. Although I do, as I say, have suggestions. So this is what it's going to look like. It's coming in on the 1st of August for all elite competitions. So that'll be the Under-20s World Championship, Women's World Cup. Those competitions will be included in this. Interesting to know what happens with the July tests will be not have 20-minute red cards, but then the Rugby Championship, I guess, will have 20-minute red cards. Anyway, you can still have a full red card, and that is for highly dangerous or deliberate acts of foul play, and for which the sanction is permanent removal from the game, no replacement, and you can probably expect a hefty ban off the back of it. The 20-minute red card is just slightly different. It's for unintentional acts of foul play. So dangerous but unintentional. Now, this is one of the issues that people have, is that it's throwing referees into a situation where they have to judge intentionality of something. The point is, sport and rugby is always opinion-based. Ultimately, interpretation of referees' opinions. And I know we talk about we want consistency, but look at VAR in football. They complained before they had it, and now they just complain now that they actually have it. I'm perfectly comfortable with letting referees and their interpretation be the arbiters of what happens. And sometimes that will go your way, sometimes it will go against you. You may agree on one and disagree on another. That's sport. That gives us stuff to talk about. That's the human element of it. That's why we can have videos on this channel. That's why we can have chats in the pubs and in the stands with our mates. I don't want to have robots officiating rugby. So I'm okay with that. The player gets replaced after 20 minutes, as we have seen in the case of Samu Karevi, but that player cannot return to the field. Just some clarification from World Rugby on 2 yellow cards as well. A second yellow card for a player will be a 20-minute red card, meaning 20 minutes off the field, and then they cannot return, but they can be replaced. I still have a little bit of an issue with, well, I have 2 issues actually. Firstly, on the yellow cards, I've never understood why 2 yellow cards equals a red card in rugby. That's just something we've taken from football and transplanted, but it doesn't match and it doesn't make sense to me. Because in football, a yellow card is a warning. You don't leave the field. Whereas in rugby, you have 10 minutes on the sin bin for a yellow card. So why shouldn't another yellow card offence be just another yellow card offence? Now, if it was 2 yellows for the same thing, so 2 deliberate knock-ons to prevent a try, well, the second one, you haven't learnt your lesson, so you're off for 20 minutes this time. But let's just say a player goes off for a yellow card for a deliberate knock-on, then they come back on 10 minutes later and the referee gives a team warning and says, look, too many penalties, so team warning, next one will be a yellow card. And that player who gave a deliberate knock-on just happens to be the person who was pinned in the ruck, lying down, preventing the ball from coming out, and they get a 20-minute red card. To me, look, I may be wrong on this, and I've said this before, that doesn't make sense to me. So yellow card should be a yellow card, unless it's repeated infringements or unless it meets the red card threshold. You could even have 2 yellow cards means another 10 minutes, and then you can't come back on the field, but you can be replaced. That would also make more sense. I don't understand the 2 yellows equaling a red, but hey, I've been banging that drum for a bit. Maybe World Rugby will change that at some point in the future. Maybe not. One of the gripes that I have, which I think a lot of people will probably think, is why have 2 different types of red card? Why does a red card mean 2 different things? Why not just pick a different colour? I think in Gaelic sports, for example, they have a yellow card, a red card, and a black card. And the black card is reserved for those egregious moments of foul play, which means you're out the game and no one is replacing you. Your team's going to be properly punished for that because it was bang out of order. Black card for that, red card for 20-minute red cards, yellow card for a yellow card. That would make sense. Or red, orange, yellow, which a lot of people have talked about. Why having two different types of red cards? It does not make sense, and it's so easy to sort. So I agree with this, but just go the whole way and make it make sense, World Rugby. Come on. So as for the 1st of August, what does that mean for the British and Irish Lions series? The first 2 tests are in July. The 3rd test is on the 2nd of August. Presumably, and you would like to think the sensible thing to do would be, I know we said the 1st of August, but we'll make it the 3rd of August. Lions, the whole series will be without 20-minute red cards, or maybe even preferable to that, all 3 tests will be under the new global law trial, and we'll just nudge it forward a little bit. But then there might be people going, well, why not just move it forward for the whole of the July test series? So they've got to draw a line somewhere, but bearing in mind it's only one day, let's just maybe not have the Lions tour being done under different rules for different tests. That would just be one thought. But I think we've got a couple of good examples here. That the Sonny Bill Williams shot on Anthony Watson in 2017, he was given a red card for it, and New Zealand went down to 14 men for the rest of the game. There's an argument, and this is one of those. I could see the argument for a full red card for that because of the chicken wing arm position. I think there was enough mitigation with the player dropping with the other teammate the other side of him, which meant he couldn't wrap his arm around, that I would think this is an example of a 20-minute red card right there. And that might have changed the game in that particular match, might have changed the series. You never know. Equally, and I know it was a long time ago now, 2005, wasn't it? And it certainly would not have changed the result. New Zealand would have absolutely walloped the Lions, even if Tana Umaga had been given a red card. But that spear tackle on Brian O'Driscoll was a textbook example of a full red card. And full red cards should still be given where they're deserved. That was a deliberate, highly dangerous spear tackle, forcing Brian O'Driscoll down onto the turf head first. And that should, and hopefully always will be, a full red card. But it'll be interesting to see what they do with the Lions series. More recent examples we've had, of course, are ones like Scott Cummings. He got the 20-minute red card against South Africa for Scotland for dropping his weight onto the leg of a player in the breakdown. He got a 1-match ban for that. And again, we're always going to have a situation where some people thought that's egregious, that's deliberate, he needs to go off and no one replaced. He needs to get a long ban. And some people will thinking, well, he's just accidentally fell over. Accidents happen, like happened with Tyburn on Antoine Dupont in the Six Nations. There will always be differences of opinion, and that's okay. But I think we're getting closer to a place where people actually are on board with this particular change. Again, going back to it, I don't see the controversy. I don't see the arguments. Maybe I'm wrong. In which case, let me know, and I'll see you on the next video.